we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order.
Ladies and gentlemen, please silence your electronics for this meeting. Hear ye. This regular meeting of the Mayor and Board of Commissioners for the City of Lakeland is now open for transaction of business. Proceed to adjourn. Any persons having business with this body, draw near, give attention, and ye shall be heard. The Honorable Mayor Mike Cunningham is presiding. Please stand for the invocation of the pledge.
Please bow your heads. Father God, thank you so much for this time we come together, Lord, and help govern our town. Please open our hearts and minds to your wisdom, Lord, and help everyone have civil conversation tonight. May we just keep moving Lakeland in the right direction. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Madam Recorder, if you would, please have the roll call.
Mayor Cunningham.
Here.
Vice Mayor Roman.
Here.
Commissioner Dow.
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Here.
Commissioner White.
Here.
All present and accounted for. Let's move on to the public hearing. It's the first item on the agenda. Madam Recorder, if you would, please read that ordinance.
Ordinance adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2019 and ending June 30th, 2020.
Do I have a motion to bring this to the floor?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we are open for discussion. Any comments? Hearing none, let's move on to the vote. Madam Recorder, please call the roll.
What are we voting on?
The ordinance for the budget.
I believe we were in public hearing, weren't we?
I'm sorry, we are. Got ahead of myself.
You're fine.
Good point, good point. Anybody want to make a motion to close discussion since there is none?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? All right, we will move from the public hearing now, sorry about that. We will now open the floor up for public comments. If you have not filled out a card, I have quite a few. So if you would, when you come to the microphone, if you would please state your name and address for the record. And we're going to try to hold the comments to 3 minutes. And Mike, our timekeeper, will wave his hands, I hope, and we'll get through these. There's quite a few cards, so just bear with us. I believe everybody has a right to speak, so we will proceed. The first speaker tonight would be Jack Hanslick. Did I say that right?
Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity. My name is Jack Hanslick. Just retired from the Navy. We moved to this area. We had been previously based here before, and we chose to come back to Lakeland because we just appreciate the community here. What I hope will happen tonight is that we'll have a very civil discourse about the future of the school with regards to the school and the budget. And I hope that you'll hear the perspective of each and every individual that wants to speak. I think what's really important is that we pay attention to what the public wants. And if there's an opportunity, I think that it ought to go for a public vote by all the residents of Lakeland to see what it is that is really desired by those of us that are living here and are going to have to deal with the taxation aspects and our kids going to one school or the other. Me personally, my daughter's going to go to a private school. And so what I would like to see is if we're going to increase the taxes to pay for a new school, that we'd be given the opportunity to have a voucher, dollar for dollar, that I could take her to a different school of my choice. But that's a very personal thing for me. And I just think that there is a lot that is behind this. There's a lot of emotion by a lot of different people. And I think a very public discussion with a public vote would be appropriate. So I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Mr. Jay Tyler.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Jay Tyler. I live at 5187 of Nagio Lane. I just want to encourage us to have as much participation as we can, and that participation means that we have a vote, that we get everybody's opinion. The more input we have, the better the result. I am personally against capital outlay note. I think it's way too expensive, and it's not the best stewardship of limited resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Next, Ms. Sharon Helms.
Thank y'all for letting me speak. My name is Sharon Helms. I live at 9557 Sequoia Point Cove here in Lakeland. And I've been here since 2004. My daughter was 4 at the time, and she attended Lakeland Elementary. She had wonderful schooling, wonderful teachers. When we moved here, it's kind of funny, but we didn't really check out the schools. We knew that there was Lakeland Elementary. We were told that from there she would go to Arlington Middle and Arlington High School. My daughter graduated a year ago, so this time last year we were hustling and bustling with all the graduation and stuff. My daughter also chose not to go to college 3 weeks before she was supposed to leave. She was packed, she was planned, she was committed. However, she said to me at church, if I go, this will be the worst decision in my life. She said, I don't believe that I can put me or you and my daddy in this kind of debt to go 4 more years of college, training to do what I'm already doing. She was working as a volunteer at the church that we attend, and she had had 4 years of training in the media department at Arlington High School. She was well trained for what she was doing. She was learning by experience also by being allowed to be kind of like an intern. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of myself, my husband, and my daughter, who is also voting age. I do not feel I'm out of line in so doing. She's out of town at a retreat with middle schoolers, probably pulling her hair out. We do not believe that a high school is necessary at this point in time. And that is what we voted for, minus my daughter, because she wasn't able to vote when the vote was given once before about building the high school and the middle school. In anything, there's compromise, give and take. And we felt like when the people were allowed to vote and the majority of the people voted no, a different plan was put into effect so that it was done anyway. We compromised from our standpoint. I'm here also to speak for the elderly. I will be 65 this August, okay? People my age are living on fixed incomes, and every penny counts. I personally have heart issues. You can't tell that by looking at me, but I'll just be open and say, I have heart problems. I take a total of 19 pills in the morning and 19 pills in the evening. Y'all, that's a lot of money. Fortunately for me, I was able to get disability and from the hospital where I worked, and so I'm secure where that's concerned. I do not know where I'm headed now that I'm turning 65, but I just want to plead on behalf of each of you who sit in a power of authority. Please, please, please weigh this decision carefully, because you're fixing to put a town of 12,000 people in a lot of debt. Not for just 1 or 2 years, but for 30 years. And y'all, as I get older, I know where my parents came from. I have to say my mom, because my father died when I was 10 months old, and she raised us. When you get older, you realize if you don't have the money, you don't spend the money. You don't borrow the money. Or if you do borrow it, you weigh heavily the cost that that's going to take. And that's all I ask, is please, 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 let the people vote. I've heard it from both sides. You know, the majority says, no, we don't want a school, and so they're said that they don't want a school forever. And the other side says, no, we gotta have school right now, we gotta have it. And the majority of us want it. And I know my time is up, so I'll begin to hear as I see the mayor smiling and nodding. Please, please, give all of the people of Lakeland a chance to vote.
Well said.
So, Mike, if you would wave your hand a little higher.
I will.
I don't think she could see you, so sorry about that. Next, we have Miss Katie Autry.
Hi, my name is Katie Daughtry, and I live at 10360 here in Surge Cove. I have 3 kids in the Lakeland school system, and I have a daughter that graduated from Arlington High School in 2013. Both schools are excellent. I personally am ready to see Lakeland have its own high school, so that all the kids that started out together at elementary or middle can go up to high school together and have each other. And I think the times now, the taxes may have to go up, but you know, taxes go up sometimes, but then hopefully maybe they'll go back down. We have a lot of good things coming for the city. I'm really excited about that as well. So this isn't just about the school. I'm just really excited for our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Next, we have Miss Belinda Henry.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm here. My name is Belinda Henry. I live at 4480 Mount Gillespie Drive, and I'm here to let you know my family and I support you in deciding to build the high school now. I also have a message from other school supporters who asked me to read their names because they couldn't attend the meeting tonight. Some families are in the audience. Most are out of town. It also covers retirees who are included on here, people who are older and their kids are already out of school, but they're part of the support. So. The Jim and Sherry Ewan family, Thomas F. Pickering and family, the Jimmy Moore family, the Joe and Lisa Cannon family, Alex C. Fuentes and family say, let's make it happen. Tommy Key and Kathy Vu family support you. Scott and Laura Harrison and family, Jeff and Valerie Rushing, John Lewis and family say they are grateful to have leaders with a solid vision for our kids and city. The Korsmo family, Brent and Rebecca Cower and sons, Jennifer Dew and family, the Story family supports you. The Paulet family, the Davis family, the McDaniel family, the Kenneth Blevins family, the Ranja family, the Leon family, the Baird support you also. The Luns family, Dale and Paul Bandian family, Jared and Anna Smith and children, the Angati family, Reed and Karen Smith and family, Jim and Kathy Major, Bill and Carme Sheridan and family, the Lyons family, the Hallam family, the Livesey family, Scott and Amy LaRusso and family, the Contry family, Hemray, Derek Shawnee, and Tony Brown and family, the Wesley and Esme Brown family, the Warren support you also, the Cohen family, Iago and Lamella Piles and children, Jeff and Kristen Hicks, the Rev Livha family, the Roos family, the Van Duzy family supports commissioners committed to moving forward to make LSS whole, Rebecca Hecker Mossbruger and family supports all the way from Japan. They're still homeowners here in Lakeland. The Hoffman family, the Latchell family supports the decision to move forward with the building of Lakeland High School. It's a long list. The Beckham family supports making it whole. The Nichols family, the Storch family, the Lancaster family, Jeff and Sherry Strausser family, the Ruoffs, the De Los Santos family supports you. The Potter family, the Reynolds family, the Snyder family, Gregory Pater and family, the Provo family, Carmen Holmes, Stacy Cartwright, the Bunch family, Chris and Alexa Tudor, the Paul family, the True family, Fran and Jim Reinhardt Sr., Jennifer Gick and family, the Hitchcock family supports you, Josh, Wesley, and Michelle. Derek and Kristen Johnson and family fully support these efforts and our 3 commissioners. Krista Pierce and family, the Lemons family, Melissa Simpson and family, Mandy Magnus and her family, Angela Shelton, the Forbes family, the Helton family, the Childs family, Jennifer Reynolds, the Robertson family, Sarah and Andy Mays, Dan and Stacy Goforth and family, the Starnes family, Wendy Sebastian and her family, and the Paul Westblade family. And I'll stop there. Let somebody else have a turn. Thank you.
Thank you, Belinda. And next we have Miss Julie Bingham.
Hi, Julie Bingham. I'm at 10119 Gillespie Oak Drive. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I've been up here 2 times before, not before all of you, but before some of you, asking for movement toward the high school. I have 2 children. One's a graduate of Arlington High. The other will be a senior next year. So neither of my children attended the Lakeland Middle School, and they will not attend the Lakeland High. But my family supports it. My husband, my oldest son, who is a voter, and my younger son, who is yet a voter. And then I'm going to pick up where Belinda left off. The Holt family want to support a high school now. The Hutchins family fully support the high school now. Lexi Kilmore, the McMahon family, Keith Morgan and family, Dan and Laurie Vaughn, Jerry and Erica Patricios and family, Jenny and Bill Kiesel and children, the Hale family, Dennis and Martha Baker, Mark and Monica Pitts and boys, Tim and Jennifer Roberts and boys, Valerie Crabtree and family, the Gallagher family, Sean, Terry, Gage, Cooper, and Chance, say build the high school now. Morgan Galvez, Brad and Amy Emerson and family, Manly and Carrie Douglas and children, Barbara Wilson and family, the Valentine family, Brenda Smith, Horst and Lisa Bucks and sons, both of whom have already graduated, Matt and Jennifer Wallace, Mandy Keating, Ross and Brenda Avery, Billy and Susan Key and children, Aaron Colwick and family, the Hubbard family, the Guevara family. The Ledsingers wanted to be sure to be on this list. The Wells family supports you. The Atchison family, the Martin family, the Sleeper family, John and Kira Cooley and family, Don and Sarah Bomar and family, Bob and Adrian Fensel support you. The Macklin family is in full support as well. The Bearden family, the Donnelly family, the Spiceland family, the Grade family, the Wright family, the Brennan family, Cherie Mott and family, the Grady family, Jonathan and Emily Spiceland and family, the Grandchamp family, the Flickinger family, the Wonder family. Thank you.
All right, next we have Mr. Ken Glatzer.
Ken Glatzer, 3298 Bedward Cove. It's pretty awesome to hear that list. You know, maybe it's, think if you think about the census of Lakeland, with 81% of the population being below the age of 60, based on the 2016 census, that's pretty rousing support. I also think it kind of reflects, this is probably the biggest meeting I've been to from a group setting with people who are for a school system. And I think that census number kind of speaks to where our population is. You know, 9/10 of the time, I've got something with my kids, or another family has something with their kids, and they can't participate. But I think it's really telling when 2 ladies read off names of families for 5 minutes each, or 3 minutes each, or whatever it is. As you guys all know, I support the school. And with that, I applaud your determination, your vision, and your leadership. And I think that going forward, this is an opportunity for you guys to lead, specifically lead the people who are against this. I really do think this is an opportunity. And I encourage you both to embrace it, because your population depends on you guys to make good decisions. You know, and to think with a united vision. And I haven't really seen that, and I hope I do as a resident who's been here for 16 years. I really hope that I can see you guys come together and think in a uniform manner for the best of the city going forward. Thank you.
Next will be Mr. Tim Roberts.
I'm Tim Roberts, 10136 Macwood Drive, and I also have this list. I'm going back to the beginning, and there's one person that was left off. I won't read the whole list of it. Her name is Stacy Nolan and family, and she supports Build the High School Now. So, in addition to speaking for Ms. Nolan, I'd like to speak for my family, Jennifer, Parker, Pierce, and Roman. All three boys are in public schools in Lakeland, and they love it as much as a child can love school. We are in support of building Lakeland High School now. We've been in support since the beginning, since the schools were surrendered by the city of Memphis, and it is our responsibility to educate our children within our school system, which was voted on originally. So thank you for making it whole, Lakeland Schools K through 12. Thank you.
Next up will be Miss Amy Foster.
Amy Foster, 10293 Oak Bank Cove. What I'd like to say is my family is in support of the high school now. It's myself, Dan, Mark, Elizabeth, Julia, and Andrew. I did help organize that list of families that was read to everyone, but I'd also like for everyone who's in support of the school to stand. If you're in the audience and support the school right now, please stand. So we just want to thank you for making the decision for us.
Thank you, Amy. Tell Dan I said, hey, for those of you that don't know, I got to sit next to Dan flying from Memphis to Atlanta one day. Super guy, like he's up there. Appreciate it. Next, we'll have Miss Debbie Drury.
Thank you for letting me speak today. This is the first time I've spoke. I've been to a lot of meetings and nothing's changed since we started. But I'm not against a school. I think we should have a school. I have grandkids that will be growing up and will need a school to go to. I just don't think the loan that we're searching out is the correct way to go. Why can't we go with Mr. Cunningham's advice where we give the city a little bit more time to grow, get the Lakeland subdivision going over there at Canada and I-40, get some more businesses in where we're not the total tax person. The people of the city are not responsible for all of it. Also, you know, in a court of law, all those lists they just read, you know, they're typed up, there's no signatures by them, so, you know, I mean, I could come in here with the same kind of list. So that's that. But like I said, I'm not against the school. I'm like that lady that talks, she's 65 years old, I'm 63 years old, on a fixed income. My husband's fixing to be 65 years old. We moved out to Lakeland to retire there. And I don't want to move, but, you know, we might be forced to in the future. But if we could just take into consideration what Mr. Cunningham has been trying to put forth about waiting a year or two and get some more income coming into the city, then you know, we might not, the people that are against the school might not be against it anymore, because most all of them have grandkids, and they do want a good school. And Arlington is definitely a good school. I don't know how many kids are gonna actually be attending Lakeland High School. I don't know if Lakeland is gonna be able to afford to have the programs that Arlington currently has, which way outweighs most every school in the city, or in a city, the county, besides Tigerville maybe. But take for instance the new, I can't think of what you would call it, but anyway, like the welding class. You know, those welding machines are $14,000, $15,000 a piece. Is Lakeland going to be able to offer that? Or will the kids in Lakeland have to go there to learn a trade? You know, there's things that, you know, you have to think about when we're on such a tight budget in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Get close. Next will be Mr. Jeremy Burnett.
Good evening. Jeremy Burnett, 4020 Canada Road. Come to you today as a citizen, as a husband, and as a father. Just want to take a minute and make a few points. First of all, thank you all five for being up here. It is not easy to take the criticism that you each and everyone get, whether it's in person, whether it's via email, or it's on this horrible thing called social media. I appreciate all of you being willing to be up here and take that. I also want to recognize that there are very strong beliefs on this issue on both sides. My neighbors and I are on the exact opposite side of the fence for this. But guess what? I still go over and I still talk to them. They're my neighbors and they're my friends. And I think that as a city, we have forgotten that a lot of times. Mike, Richard, I disagree with both of you on this issue primarily. But I also know that you believe what you believe because of how you ran your campaign and how you were. I appreciate that. Josh, Wes, Michelle, I also appreciate your stance on this. You're running on the campaigns that you stood on and for what I voted for each of the three of you for. Thank you. I hope that people also realize that this is a long-term engagement, I hate to say battle, and it's not a recent issue. I'm going to break from a lot of my colleagues and say, don't build a school now, build it finally. It's important. I'm pleading for civility and respect for everyone in this room, on social media, watching this online right now, making comments. It's hard because you get wrapped up in the emotions, you get wrapped up in the stories, you get wrapped up in personalities. But please, it is time for us to be civil and have civil discourse. And that is possible in today's day and age, even online. It's time to put this issue to bed. Fund the construction and protect the school system. LAS and LMPS by any metric. Enrollment, programs, offerings, student success have exceeded expectations. Despite the naysayers, there's no reason to think that a high school would not follow suit. At the end of the day, though, you all five have to vote your conscience, vote your beliefs, and please vote in a manner that lets you sleep at night and lets you face your maker with a good, clear conscience. As for me and my household, my wife Rachel, my voting age son Andrew, and my two children at Lakeland Elementary and Lakeland Middle, we want you to move this item forward and fund the school. Thank you for your time.
And last but not least, Ms. Martha Higdon.
My name is Martha Higdon. I live at 10027 Drop C Drive. Belinda, Julie, and Tim, I don't have a list like y'all did, but if I did have it with me, we would be here all night reading the list of people that voted against this. It was a 60-40 vote, if you remember, and it's probably going to be higher now. So we can put that list aside. And I'm not going to stand up here and try to persuade you to stop this insane tax burden on our citizens. People have already spoke, pleaded, begged, and almost cried when speaking about losing their homes. All I want to say is that you three commissioners are making a laughing stock of our beautiful city. People in Collierville, Bartlett, Germantown have called and asked, what on earth are they thinking? You have no resources to build a high school right now. You have people on your side that posted on the CCL site asking for dirt on our mayor. Posted it on the site asking for give a reward for posting dirt on our mayor. You also posted today that if anyone needs bail money, come see them. Also, Karen said, if you live in Lakeland, you should be able to afford this tax rate. Well, I tell you right now, I can't afford it. I'm almost 75, a widow on a fixed income. I cannot afford it. I go to McDonald's now instead of these highfalutin restaurants like y'all do. And my answer is, why should I cut corners even more so this wonk school can be built? These are disgusting and non-compassionate quotes from our citizens on the school now. I'm sorry, this school subject has torn this quiet town apart. Why can't we come up with a plan to keep all the citizens? Why can't we compromise? It's not a matter of someone being against the school. It's a matter of being wise. And when the time is right, financially stable, then we can build a school that everyone wants.
Thank you, Martha. That will complete the public comments. There's been a card brought up that I'm aware of. All right, we'll move on to.
I'd like to make a comment and I'll sign a card. If that's permissible, no objection.
Go ahead. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is John Burnett, and I live at 9505 Pleasant Ridge Road. I listened to the reading of the names of the list, and one name struck me. And I thought I'd tell you the story about the family of Elvis Lemons. Elvis Lemons was a former fire chief with the city of Memphis. He lived in the 10,000 block of Pleasant Ridge Road.
I don't think that's the correct name.
No, it's not wrong.
What?
Lauren Lemons.
Lauren. It's not a different.
No, his name was Elvis.
Well, the person on the list is Lauren Lemons.
Okay.
Jonathan and
Whether they're
Robert.
related or not, I don't know. I'm just telling you the story of Elvis. Elvis and Betty Lemons were a retired company, a retired family. And they lived up on the high side, Pleasant Ridge Road, on the 10,000 block. And Elvis had some property, he had a barn, he had some cows. And I was lucky enough to cut his hay for a number of years. But then when Lakeland incorporated our section of the town, and then a little bit later passed what had never been a part of Lakeland, and that were property taxes, Elvis and Betty Lemons got into a real bind, and they had to sell their home and move to South Haven, Mississippi. So that's the story of Elvis and Betty Lemons. And every time you pass a tax increase here in Lakeland, there are retired families who have to make the decision to lose the homes that they love and move someplace else. So consider that very carefully when you're thinking about increasing taxes. Look at some other options. I graduated from a place in Rochester, New York called the Rush Henrietta Unified School District. Rush was a small town, Henrietta was a small town. They got together and made a unified school system, and it worked. So please weigh your votes carefully, and instead of listening to a bunch of names from lists, listen to voters.
All right, we will close the public comments and move on to the first ordinance. Madam Recorder, if you would please read the first ordinance on the agenda.
Final reading, adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2019 and ending June 30th, 2020.
So moved.
Second. All right, motion on the floor and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Recorder, if you would please call the roll, we will vote.
Vice Chair Roman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dow,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham,
Yes.
5 in favor, 0 against.
All right, motion passes. If you would please read the first resolution.
A resolution authorizing an application to USDA Rural Development Community Facility Loan Fund for the financing of the new high school in Lakeland.
Do I have a motion to bring that to the floor? I will so move since I sponsored that. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and second for resolution regarding the USDA Rural Development Loan. The floor is open for discussion. And I have a presentation if Shane, you want to. Did you, sorry.
You have a question, Mr. Mayor?
Sure. Go
I-
for it.
Just to make sure I understand this correctly. So what you're saying is that you're bringing forward and sponsoring an idea to finance the school now? Is that
Correct.
Okay, you want to talk a little bit about the change of heart?
It's not a change of heart. I just want everybody to know, as Ms. Martha spoke, I believe we're all tired of the divisiveness in this city. I'm a big proponent of win-win solutions. And when I sat down with Kevin and Ted about a month or so ago and went through this, it piqued my interest. I believe it's a way that we can not have a tax burden, and when I get to the presentation, you'll see what I mean when we get to the last slide. I'm not in any way, shape, or form, oblivious to the fact that the school's gonna get built. And if it's on a 3-2 vote, what does that do? It just further divides this community. So I have to be a leader. And I have to step up and say, this is the solution that will build the school. It will not bring an undue tax burden on our people. It will give us time to grow commercially. And it's a win-win all the way around. I had to search my heart of hearts to make that decision. But I believe it's the right one for all of us. You can show the presentation and you'll kind of get what I'm talking about.
While that's coming up, Mayor,
Sure.
in the original resolution that was presented to us on the agenda, the USDA loan was going to be funded in the amount of $35 million. I see on the new one that we were given when we came in that has been changed to the $40 million.
The one that I have in the presentation is at $38 million, which was the original request by the school board.
Okay, because there's one here, the original resolution as forth on the agenda for 35, and the one on the resolution that we were just given today for 40. So we're going to get the clarification
Yeah, I would
on
like
the
for Kyle
exact amount.
to explain. That's what we were talking about when, right before we started the meeting. Kyle has put together an addendum to be able to explain this publicly.
Sure. So we spent some time over the last several days after we were requested to run down this option with bond counsel, thinking critically about what form a USDA loan option would take. And I think originally the purpose of the downsizing was to make the con note a little more palatable, but I don't think, maybe I'm misrepresenting people's positions, so forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think the $40 million was always the project size that was envisioned for the high school, and that gives the school board everything that they wanted to do. And I think by pursuing a USDA loan option, it's likely that we can realize that vision of a $40 million complex that greatly benefits the community without significant, I can't say without significant cost, but with a less impactful cash flow cost over the course of the financing. And so for that reason, we assumed that we would issue a $40 million $40 million USDA loan, but that is of course subject to the board's approval. So if there is an amendment, or if you guys would like to change that value, we'd be happy to do so.
Just for clarification, I believe this presentation is actually based on 60 million, which would include the previous 2015 capital outlay note and 40 for this. And so currently we're like 15.8, so these numbers may actually be a little bit higher.
Correct. So when we initially had this conversation with the USDA back in February, I think we gave them some ballpark numbers of $40 million for the project and roughly $20 million for the refinancing of the note. As of now, we haven't revisited those numbers with the USDA, except insofar as to say we are thinking about $40 million for this project, in addition to refinancing the 2015 note and possibly some other outstanding debt obligations pursuant to USDA's ability to finance those particular debt obligations through their particular scope of services. So the totality of the project remains relatively in flux, and I think we intended to add some language to the extent that the board directed us to do so, add some language to ensure that whatever projects the board was interested in thinking about refinancing, those projects were included in the resolution. So the resolution you have in front of you is, shall we call it a boilerplate resolution that really strictly identifies what we've talked about to date. So today, if there's anything else that we'd like to add, such as any additional projects or refinancing the note, we can definitely modify or amend the resolution such that the resolution that you guys vote on is the resolution that you're interested in seeing becoming law, if that makes sense.
Okay, sorry about that. I just emailed it back to Shane. I thought we were going to show it.
And I'll be happy to make a motion when we're done with the presentation. So.
Yes, sir.
So Shane is able to get that downloaded from his email.
I see it moving halfway.
Break. Sorry about that, y'all. So basically what Ted and Kevin presented to me kind of shows you a scenario of where we're at, shows you where 85 cents of our property tax right now goes to. 15 cents of that goes to LSS for operations, that's by state statute. 10 cents to the school reserves for capital projects. We'll talk about that money here close to the end, and then 60 cents of the city's of Lakeland goes to capital projects for the school. If you look at the current funding, and this has been discussed numerous times in different proposals, that 1 cent of property tax in 2019 equals $35,343. It's actually a little bit higher than that now, Shane has said, so that's a very conservative number. Next slide. This historically shows 16, 17, and 18, and while we've had a little bit of reduction in the actual income of the local sales tax, the option there, it is a little higher than that now as well. The projections are very strong to be higher for this year. As new businesses are coming in, thank goodness, that's what we need, is growth. All right, next slide. So what funds are currently dedicated to school capital in Lakeland? This is where it starts to really get interesting, and this is how you kind of can look at things from a perspective of how do we make this work for everyone that's a citizen of the city? How do we get a school built, and how do we not burden those that are struggling with the tax increase? So 10 cents from the original 85 cents tells you how much revenue. I won't read through every one of those. The half-cent local option, the 55 cents that was raised back to finance LMPS capital outlay note. So the total funds dedicated is just shy of $2.6 million. You can see 2.597. So here is the scenario that actually caught my eye when I was looking through this, and it actually began to sink in that we can really do this without burdening all of our citizens. So and this is how Ted explained it to me, and this is what really had caught me, because those of you who have heard me speak numerous times have talked about the prepayment penalty. Is not really that. It's you know, a call or whatever you call it. But using this type of financing is very forgiving because it's federally funded. This is the federal U.S. government. This is not the state. This is not selling bonds. This is a loan. So there is a tax-free refinance of the current capital outlay note that we all know we're paying a lot of money for, which is a total of $15.8 million. And that annual debt service on that is $822,144. The new high school at $38 million, that's why the 38 was in this presentation, is $1.977 million. The total is $2.799, which is just shy of 2.8. So if you actually look at the difference, and if you go to the next slide, it's just a repeat of the slide before. That's the previous slide, the new slide, and now back to the previous slide. You can see that 2.6 to 2.8, if you would, I'm just rounding the numbers up just to be easy, you know, for mathematically, if you'll go to the next one. So the difference for the city of Lakeland and the commitment to our annual debt service with this USDA loan is a difference of $202,000. That's very, very low compared to what we might be looking at if we do the capital outlay note. So if you would go to the next slide, and we'll break this down into the property tax scenario. This will generate what it takes to cover that extra $202,000 at the 35.343, which Shane has already said that number is a little low. It's actually a little higher than that. Equates to just shy of 6 cents. So if you look at this, from what the school board has committed, and I won't hold their hands to it because their commitment is for helping to pay debt service for 4 years on the capital outlay note. But I do believe that if this is a win-win, that the school board would get on board with this, that if they use that $700,000 per year for the first 4 years, which totals $2.8 million, if you'll go to the next slide, this is where it got me, folks. If they will commit that same amount of money, we won't have to have a tax increase. It will cover the 6 cents for 13.85 years. That gives us plenty of time to grow and to get some commercial business in here without affecting every citizen in this city's pocket. So, I had to come to terms as a leader sitting here in the chair and leading this board what is in the best interest of all of our citizens. How do we get to a point where it's a win-win? This is it. This is the solution. And I won't be naive and say, I even asked Mike for an opinion, a legal opinion, that we can tonight vote to approve this plan, and we can vote to approve the capital outlay notes at the same time. And they can run down parallel tracks. So, just so everyone knows and it's clear, and based on Mike's legal opinion, I know the citizens of this city want to vote. I've heard that loud and clear. But I believe that with these two funding mechanisms running parallel, that if it's petitioned and it's protested and this goes to a vote, that we will have a special call meeting and this loan will be voted to go away. So I want to be as crystal clear as I can to everyone that's listening out on the web, although it looks like the web may cut off. But I want everyone to understand the school will be built. Whether it's a 3-2 vote on the capital outlay note, I will vote my conscience on that, as I always have. But I will support this because this doesn't bring a tax burden on our citizens for a school for 13 years plus. And in that time, we should be able to grow, and if we don't, shame on all of us for not getting some commercial business in here. So there's the win-win. That's what I was talking about last meeting. I believe that those of us up here realize that this is the fork in the road. You choose which road you want to take. And let's go to the last one. This is the best part of this whole loan. The upfront fees, basically none. When you get capital outlay notes and bonds and you sell them and there's all this stuff going on, there's thousands and thousands of dollars that are being spent to take that route. The tax fee refinancing of the existing debt. The flexibility of when the first payment's made. I had a gentleman ask me before the meeting, if we borrow this money, do we start paying for it while the school's being built? We have the flexibility to determine when that is. This type of loan was put together by the federal government for small towns and rural communities, which we are one because we are fewer than 20,000 people. So it fits this market. So you can amortize it over 40 years, but the best part of all of this, there is not 1 cent of penalty for early repayment. If we can grow, we can get the Lake District out of the ground, and we can get Lakeland Commons producing revenues, and people see that there's a shining light in Lakeland, and we're not divided anymore, and we're not fighting and having this social media insanity, this city will grow and prosper. And this is the way to do it. And this is the win-win solution for both sides. I firmly believe that. But I will caution everyone. The fork in the road is simple. It's 64 cents, or it's no tax increase for 13 years if the school board agrees to spend that same amount of money on this type of financing. And I'm speaking to everybody from my heart of hearts. This is the solution that will get it done for everybody in this city. And it won't allow our seniors to be run out of their homes. So that's what I have to say about it. I hope that this board will take that into consideration. And I hope the citizens of this city will take that into consideration as well. And I hope that there's not a petition. I don't believe this is what the city needs. I believe this is the solution, and I stand behind that. So thank you. Any other? Floor's open for discussion. It's not just me.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for bringing this to the floor. We've been asking for a solution, a suggestion, in some way, shape, or form since December. I thank you for that. We've had this conversation now for 6 months, and I told you at the last meeting that if we brought a longer-term finance option forward, that I would not vote for it. And I would not vote for it because I believe that, that 35 million was a short-term solution, that the school is ultimately going to need more funds in order to fully build the school out. So seeing this in front of us, knowing that we can run dual tracks, knowing that this is more of a long-term solution, I think because it's possibly a long-term solution, that the resolution should reflect that. So I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make the motion to amend the $40,000 where it says not to exceed $40 million to not exceed $62 million. I would like the resolution amended towards the bottom where it gives A through H, talks about what the $62 million could be spent on. I'd like to add to that the refinancing of the 2015 capital outlay note, $40 million for the school, and then the rest can be used for road improvements or parks. And I believe looking at a long-term vision, it makes sense. So that's my motion. It's on the floor.
Do we have a second? So I have a couple of questions. Do you know what the tax implications are for increasing to that amount?
Thanks for asking. Yes, again, this was my math. My math has not been relied on, however, it looked very similar to what was just on the slide. But regardless of that, it looks like about $50,000 per million. So by my calculations, it looked like $3,050,000 for 62. $3,100,000 for $62 million worth of borrowing. That still puts us well within the 2.48 that we're currently spending, plus the $700,000 from the school board. So again, it doesn't appear to me that any tax increase would be needed at this time.
Do you know how long the tax increase would not be needed? That would be at the same 4-year rate.
I would guess at the same 4-year rate. After that, if we took the difference and divided by 35,000 the same way you did, it'd be somewhere around 15, 16 cents, assuming there were no changes to any operations at City Hall. Which, again, as a reminder, the 6 cents also considered no changes at City Hall at this time, which we've already made $300,000 to $400,000 worth of changes at City Hall. I said that really fast. Did you understand that?
Not quite.
Right. So anyway, as of right now, no tax increase would be needed at that dollar amount. In 4 years, assuming there were no changes, actually, assuming there were no changes to the budget we just passed, there would still be no tax increase needed. You're welcome to consult Shane or something else like that.
I have the floor.
You have the floor.
Just a quick question, Josh.
Yes, sir.
How, if the Lake District pops up and it makes, it's $3 million in taxes to the city, it's just a prediction, not a promise. How would that affect this? You know, if we end up with, are you looking, no tax increase for the, you know?
No, actually, it would be a tax decrease. So $3 million for them divided by 35,000, that's 90 cents. 90 cents off of $1.25. I mean, that really came through. We're talking about 35-cent tax.
Well, it's a prediction, not a promise, but it's out there.
Yeah.
I need to consider that.
And considering also other projects.
Right,
Not just Lakeland Commons, not just Lake District, but several other things that are coming to alleviate that.
So in my humble opinion, as, you know, fighting for, you know, what I believe in, I believe this is, like I mentioned to several school board members after the election, this solution was in the middle. I think we found the middle. And I'll support this because I want this conflict to end so we can go on to bigger and better things. I'm glad we're protecting the seniors, and that was important to me. And the vote was important to me, but solving this now is probably less important to me than having a vote. I stood up here and I said I will not support anything that doesn't allow the vote of people. But there's a time when you can fall on your sword and lose a battle, or you can find a way to compromise, and then you can, all sides can win, we can move on. So that's where I'm at on this.
So, just to clarify, if we went with the 40 million on the USDA total loan, plus refinancing the capital outlays on the middle school, that's, call it 16, it's 15A, let's call it 16, that's 56 million. I would like to know from our financial director if Josh's motion to increase that to 62.
Yes, sir.
How that will affect the presentation I just gave, because that's an additional $6 million on top of the money necessary to build a $40 million school and refinance the current debt that we have.
So I obviously haven't vetted the numbers yet, but his math sounds legit off the top of my head. I think because the USDA loan option has the ability to be refinanced or financed over a longer period of time, you could theoretically finance more projects and not have as significant a cash flow burden as you would otherwise have. So it's theoretically possible that $62 million could be financed without as much, without any tax increase. I can't say for certain, but Josh's math certainly sounds correct to me off the top of my head. We can reach out to Terrence, the gentleman at the USDA. I believe his official title is Community Development Director, who we've been working with, and he can run the schedules for us. They use a different kind of software in order to run their schedules. It's a nerd difference, but a difference that I can't generate the numbers. So we'll get the schedules from him, and once we do, we can definitely put that math together and share that information with you guys. But it definitely sounds feasible that you could theoretically do a number of projects and not have as significant a tax burden as you would have with the school being financed strictly through the capital outlay.
Okay, so what we would end up doing, for those of you who are catching up with me, I know Kyle vetted this presentation, and he said these numbers that I presented here were rock solid, and I trust him more than I trust my own math, quite frankly. So if we do what I was proposing, would be $56 million total. Have a motion on the floor in a second, and we're in the discussion phase of bumping that to 62 million to also fund additional projects within the city for 4 years, because we will now take the school board's commitment to back to the 4 years at the $700,000 per year, and we can do this without a tax increase, or
I would say negligible tax increase, if any tax increase.
would negligible be less than a nickel? Would it be less than the 6 cents?
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair. You know, of course, I want to vet those numbers, but yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. And of course, just so we're all on the same page here, if we, just because we say a not to exceed $62 million par amount, doesn't necessarily mean that we have to issue $62 million in projects. That simply means that we cannot over issue more than $62 million. And so, for instance, say we wanted to do the school and have the financing the note, and then we had some other project that came up that we wanted to include, and it's $58 million, that's well within our purview after we proceed with this resolution. So there are some pieces we want to make sure that we are in agreement with the USDA as far as the project purposes. There may be some projects that we think are great that they can't do just because of their specific scope of services, but I did talk with them today, and all the projects that we've articulated to now, such as the refinancing of the 2015 note, the school, and some road improvement projects are all possible opportunities, as well as maybe some sewer financing, depending on how that sewer impacts the school. Meaning that the sewer project itself is a subsidiary project. They being the USDA, does do some sewer work. Typically that's constrained to communities of less than 10,000 people. Obviously we have 12,433 citizens, so we may not fit in that window, but there's some leeway, some latitude where we can say, okay, this sewer project impacts the school, and, you know, we can perhaps roll that in as well. That's not necessarily a concern for us today, I just thought that was interesting. But anyways, so there are opportunities that we can pursue with the USDA to make sure the projects that we're thinking about make sense and can be financed through them. But ultimately, you know, as I said at the beginning of this conversation, if the goal is to build a school, long-term financing is definitely the cheapest way to do it. And I agree with you all, this makes a lot of practical sense.
Ma'am,
Sure, you have the floor.
are parks within the scope of the financing as well?
I'm unclear about the parks. We have to specifically get with them and identify the projects that we want to see built. I would assume that there are some projects that we could probably, you know, find some financing through. They specifically identified infrastructure needs, so maybe if we're thinking about green projects where we are, say, improving green spaces or something like that by diverting roads, or I don't know, Kevin.
Or playgrounds for handicapped children, all-inclusive children, you know, so that all children have access to playgrounds in different areas of the city?
Yeah, so ADA would be a great,
Yes.
a great potential project for them. I didn't specifically ask them about that, but we can certainly clarify.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Kyle. Yes, sir. I would like to ask Vice Mayor if he would reconsider his amendment to total 60 million flat. I don't want to take a risk of overburdening just for the sake of projects that we might want to do. But wouldn't it be a win for everyone in this city to have your school, have your roads fixed, have it paid for 4 years without an additional tax, and in that time, I'm going to work my rump off to grow this city commercially. And we are going to get some businesses in here. Is that not the win-win? I ask everybody in this city, think about what we're talking about and what we're doing. The fork in the road is simple. Pick your poison. It's 64 cents or it's around a nickel to 6 cents. And that's after we allow the school board to, or use the school board's money. So would you so kind as to amend that to 60 straight up? I'm just asking.
Yeah, sure, I appreciate the conversation. Just so you know where my head's at with that, we're at 56 for the schools or roughly, and not committing it to New Canada Road, but just for the cash flow, there's a 20% match, so that our match is $5 million. And so I was trying to help the city with the whole cash flow in and out of New Canada Road, so that was the reason for that number that I came up with. So it's not out of disrespect, Mr. Mayor,
No,
it's just that was the number that made it happen. So.
Fair enough. Can I ask, while we're still discussing, Shane, can you speak to your needs as the city manager to be able to do your job without just paying the bills, and that we can actually do the things that everyone is asking for, specifically roads? Does this number, in your opinion,
Yeah, from a cash flow standpoint, potentially freeing up that match portion certainly allows us to do other things. We've listed a laundry list of opportunities that we would like to explore as a staff. You know, we talked about restroom facilities at IH Park, and we have our LAMP events to have decent restrooms instead of porta johns out there that could be used year-round. Those are not cheap things to do. We need to run, you know, some sewer back there to it, obviously. So we've identified some projects, but it's just been wishing at this point, knowing kind of what our budget climate has been and what it looks like currently. So we would certainly put together kind of our priority list, and can certainly come back to the board and get your input on what that looks like. When I've been out and about, and I was had the opportunity to share with the Lions Club last week, and they were very vocal about the condition of our streets. And I've heard that as I've kind of been around the community. We've over the last 2 or 3 years, we've certainly ramped up those efforts financially after many years of really not investing in our road infrastructure. So the concern was, if whatever route we chose potentially, could that impact or restrict our ability to do new resurfacing projects? Many areas we've simply been on pothole patrol essentially, and we envisioned that would be a continuation based on what our comments were when we looked at the capital outlay note structure. So opening this up long-term kind of frees up that cash to be able to really continue that investment in our roads, which I hear loud and clear from our residents that is a very high priority for them.
Me too, thank you. So you're confident that the 62 number frees us up enough, and with this long-term financing, it gives us the flexibility to not put the burden from a tax perspective on the citizens for the 4 years that the school board is committed to fund that. So
Yeah,
within that
absolutely.
time, we should be able to.
Yeah, as Kyle mentioned, whatever that cap is, doesn't mean we have to spend that amount. That just kind of gives us the threshold, if you will. Certainly, we hope to get very eager bidders as we bid out the construction of the school, similar to what we had the last cycle. And we can save money, obviously, with contractors that are eager to work in Lakeland, and maybe those bids come in very competitively, and we're able to do more for the dollar, if you will, and that just, again, frees up those resources for other things. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure that what we're voting on is what we can do, and it makes sense. I believe looking at, sorry, I didn't keep up while Shane was showing it.
I will say the New Canada Road project is certainly something that's very important to residents as well, as I've heard from them. From a staff standpoint, we've spent a lot of time and effort, our consultants have spent a lot of time and effort, and we'd like to continue that track to get this thing out to bid and constructed. This is going to be a long construction sequence for this road. It's a huge project, but it's a project that Lakeland has been talking about for a number of years. So to actually see, dirt turned over and work actually on this project is something that we're anxious to see. I know a lot of residents are anxious to see as well.
Yeah, and just to follow up along with that, one of the big concerns for me with building the high school without funding and building Canada Road is, and I spoke to a group of homeowners from Evergreen Hills a few weeks back, and just from a pure safety perspective, what is the one thing that high schoolers do that middle schoolers and elementary school kids don't? They drive to school. So everyone south of the lake is going to drive up Canada Road to go to school, and it's just not safe. So if this allows us to finish New Canada Road and bring a safety factor to our students getting back and forth to the new high school, then it absolutely makes sense to me, and I will be behind that 100%, because the last thing we want is something that happened this past week, and I know everybody saw that on the news. It was a tragic accident on Canada Road because it's treacherous. It has to be fixed. So I appreciate the Vice Mayor offering up a cap to get us to that point so that we can provide safety for our kids. So, any further discussion?
Is now the time to amend the language following the amount? Vice Mayor Roman, it says the initial resolution authorizing the issuance of a not to exceed, you would say $62 million. It has here general obligation bonds, and I just want us to be clear that that's not,
Assuming this passes, I was going to offer up a 5-minute recess so that they can make sure we vote on the actual resolution that they're comfortable with the wording.
yes, that needs to change.
Yeah, we do need to get the wording correct, and Kyle did explain that right before, and it would be good if we all heard it.
I didn't know if we could make that amendment at the same time as making the amendment that you proposed and put on the table, or if it needed to be a separate amendment.
accept a friendly amendment to my amendment.
Did I miss a friendly amendment?
Yes, sir, the friendly amendment was to make sure that the verbiage stated that we were getting a loan and not a general obligation bond. Just making sure, because it was a boilerplate for the GO, that it, that the top part, the bottom part, looks perfect. It's just the top part where it stipulates the type of instrument.
Just to be clear that it will still be a general obligation loan.
Yes.
It won't be a bond, but it will still
Right.
be pursuant to the general obligation credit, meaning that the city is obligated to do everything in its power to pay the debt service up to and including raising taxes. That's very normal, very standard, very
Full faith and
common
credit.
language.
Yep. All right.
So the amendment is $62 million loan.
Correct.
Wait, sorry, is it 60?
62.
The amendment that was seconded was 62.
Two, correct. I asked if he would reconsider to 60, but after hearing the reasoning for New Canada Road and freeing up the cash flow, then it makes sense at that rate to include that.
Like I said, I'll go ahead and call for the vote on the amendment, and we can recess for that.
Okay, Madam Clerk, you'll call for the vote on the amendment, please.
Vice Mayor Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Dow,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham.
Yes.
5 in favor, 0 against on the amendment.
Just want to call for 5-minute recess,
Yeah,
please.
if you'll give us about 5 minutes, we want to make sure we get the wording correct when we actually vote on the resolution itself as amended. So if you'll please give us about 5 minutes, we'll be right back. Okay, I'll call the meeting back to order. Are we good with the?
We're getting copies so you can have red lines to see what we should get.
We have new copies coming, it's been updated, so.
We had a toner crisis.
A toner crisis, that happens. It always happens when you. So as we sit here, I'll make a couple extra comments if y'all don't mind. I hope everyone here tonight sees a change in the city. We've done something short of a miracle that I didn't believe was ever possible. We found the center of the road. This is a win for everybody in this city. And I'd like everyone that agrees with what we're hoping we are going to approve tonight, everyone that agrees with what we've discussed and where we're at right now, would you please stand up, whether you be for or against the school or for, if you would stand up. Okay, we can excuse the guy from the Daily Memphian because I just want the board and my fellow representatives up here to see that this will unify the city. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. And if we get some toner, we can read this. It's been a long road, y'all. It's been a long struggle, but we are going to make Lakeland great. Although it already is great, in my opinion. Greater. We're going to make it greater.
The greatest.
Then the greatest. There you go.
Thank you. You'll give us half a second just to check over the red lines and make sure we're good.
How comfortable that parks is included in public works?
We specifically put in public works because there may be some constraints on what the USDA funds can be used for. So that gives us a little bit more flexibility, not knowing all the parameters of the USDA project.
Okay, so it's inclusive, is what you're saying?
It is.
Okay, okay.
You got there before me, I just saw that, so. And did we get Ms. Deborah a copy? Does she have a copy of the update? Okay. I want to make sure everybody up here has a chance to read it, and we're good, so. Good? Everybody's had a chance to read it? All right, do I have a motion to approve the resolution as amended?
Bring it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as amended in the former amendment. Madam Recorder, would you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Bowman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dow,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
All right. That motion carried unanimously, by the way. A little commentary, if I may, take a little bit of time just before we move on to the last resolution. As I mentioned during the presentation, we are at the fork in the road. Both options will probably pass and go down the same tracks. This resolution we just approved is the one that will heal the city. It will build a school. It will improve our roads. It'll finally build New Canada Road. And it'll give our dedicated staff the flexibility and the funding to do their jobs and to make this the best city in Shelby County. So with that, I want to ask those that disagree with this, look at deep inside yourself and search your conscience. Do you want a 64-cent tax increase? Or do you want the one thing that we just approved that's going to bring this city together? So think about that for those that may be thinking about wanting to protest this. Because that's going to do nothing but bring down the euphoria that we feel right now, because we know this is the right thing to do for everyone in this city. With that, I will ask Madam Recorder to read the final resolution for tonight.
A resolution of the governing body of Lakeland, Tennessee, authorizing the issuance, sale, and payment of general obligation capital outlay note not to exceed $35 million, making provision for the issuance, sale, and payment of said notes, establishing the term thereof and the disposition of proceeds therefrom, and providing for the levy of taxes for the payment of principal, premium, if any, and interest on the notes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion about the second reading of the capital outlay note funding mechanism for the school? You have the floor.
Thank you, sir. I'll just mention that the first item on the agenda tonight was the setting of the tax rate in the budget. The tax rate in the budget that was set tonight is at $1.89. So the tax rate was set to afford the capital outlay note. If the mayor is able to garner support for the long-term financing vision that we voted for tonight, then we will have a special called meeting and amend the tax rate and amend the budget. However, I believe very strongly that the time is now for the school, and so I would hate to do anything that would stall it while we're just trying to see whether or not the mayor is able to garner support for his long-term vision. So that being said, I would urge my colleagues to vote for the capital outlay note option as well.
Anybody else want to discuss? I'll just further reiterate what I said just a minute ago. I don't know for sure, but I know how I'm voting on this, because I believe this continues to be divisive. I believe this is not what's in the best interest of our kids. This is a $35 million school. That's $5 million less than what we just voted to bring the best of the best to Lakeland with no burden on every citizen here. And I do believe, and I know we can get back together once this passes the protest time and we realize this is what's best for Lakeland. And we don't put it to a vote. We accept the fact that we are at this place and the word is compromise. This is the right thing to do for everyone involved. I can't speak for everyone. I can speak from the heart. That's how I feel about it. And I truly believe that we'll make it past 20 days and there will not be enough support to force a vote, because that's only going to be another call meeting to rescind what we just talked about. So while this will go at the same time, we have to read what's best for the city into our decisions. And I will not vote to burden any citizen at a 64-cent rate. So with that, everyone, please take some time, search your heart, think about what we just did tonight with the former resolution, and consider the consequences of protesting the USDA process for getting the city on track and flourishing. So I think it was pretty much unanimous. Everybody in this room stood up when I asked them to, if they supported what we just did. So with that, I will ask if there's any further discussion, and if not, we will ask Madam Recorder to call the roll.
Vice Mayor Roman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dow,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham.
No.
4 yes, 1 no.
One second. Mr. Gonzalez, you're welcome to change your.
Well, I did that because I feel like we can't let it go to a vote, because if that happens, we're back to square one and our city's divided.
The kids appreciate your support.
Absolutely.
All right. The floor is open for announcements. Anyone have any announcements?
Everyone come to the Lamp on Saturday, June 1st for our first concert. Looking forward to all that.
We'll be okay, all right. Yeah, the Lamps first concert is this Saturday. It's going to be a fun time. I was going to be out of town, but I canceled my trip because I'm going to be there. So it's going to be fun. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?